In this video I'm going to be showing you how I created this 80s influenced stylized portrait. If you stick around to the end of the video you'll see how I created the light leaks, the lens flares and the neon sign glow of the text. Hi guys, welcome to the video. My name is Clinton Lofthouse. I'm a photographer and photo manipulator from the UK and you're tuned into photomanipulation.com. So a little bit of backstory about this image before we jump into the speed edit. We shot this at York Photo Studio. I've got a friend involved. We wanted to play around with the Lost Boys theme. Instead of having a boy we wanted to do a girl in there. So what we did is we chose an outfit that had a little bit of an 80s feel, and then we got into the studio with the Chrome 1 light modifier which has just come out, and we set up 3 lights. There was 2 rim lights gelled with a red gel, and then we had the Chrome umbrella as fill and kind of the front light just to get some blues to contrast against those reds. So let's get into the actual speed edit. So what I did here is I brought the image in from Lightroom into Photoshop. As you can see, it's taking a little while to load in. I probably need a new computer, but that's a story for a different day. So what I'm doing here is, if you extend the canvas, you get these white edges here, and what you can do then is if you get the rectangle marquee tool, you can snip a little piece of the background and then stretch it across to create a larger canvas, and it still matches the colour and the tone and everything of your background, like so. So I did it again for the other side using the marquee tool. With free transform I then stretched it across, and we now have a larger image to play with. Except that time it didn't work, so I had to Control Z that and go back and do it again. So as you can see now, just holding down shift and pulling that out. Now we have a larger canvas to play with. And then I just pressed Ctrl E just to merge them down, and I merged both sides down like so. And then it's getting onto the rest of the image. So what I wanted to do is I did shoot with the blue gel, but it wasn't as strong as I thought. So what I did is I then got a brush and just painted that on, and then used blend diff just to make that blue effect a little bit stronger and enhance it a little bit. And then I went into using liquify for the vampire teeth. So I just had to mask out that bottom lip so it didn't bend the bottom lip. And then I quite liked how that looked, but you couldn't see it from far away, so I thought I'll just make them all sharp vampire teeth. And then it was a new layer and then a little bit of retouching. So just getting some of the blemishes off the skin, off the face, and then a little bit on the body. Again, didn't really have to do this because the image is quite far out, but it just leads to a better, smoother feel if you do. So now I'm just painting in on soft light in the eyes. I did paint them in red first, but then I changed them later for contrast, so I added a yellow. And then coming into creating some type for the image. The image is, as you can probably tell as this text comes along, inspired by the Lost Boys. I'm a big 80s movie fan. I was born in the 80s, I grew up on 80s movies, so the Lost Boys is a staple of the 80s horror genre. So what I wanted to do is just kind of give a little nod to the movie, well, more of a big nod actually, to be fair, and create this image which was maybe based around the female version of one of the vampires from that movie. So I got the type and it's in front of the model and I brought in, but what I wanted to actually do was have it behind the model. I quite like when the text is hidden a little bit, or the person overlaps that, so I just cut out part of the body of the model with the pen tool and then just masked out to that area of the text. And then if you unchain that, you can then move it around behind the model. And then what I wanted to do is, obviously I wanted this to, because it's 80s feel, what's more 80s than neon signs, so what I wanted to do then was try and make this text look like a neon sign or a sign that lights up. So I went through various ways of trying to get the highlights of, like, when you get a neon sign, you get a hot little line usually in the center, which is where the heat is. So I was trying to find various ways of creating that, and it wasn't going very well. So eventually I used the pen tool, and on the shape stroke pattern, I don't know if that's the technical term, but that's what we're going to use. And I then decided I'm going to paint that inside, and then I'm going to blur it, and then I'm going to add some glow so it looks like the hot spot of a neon sign, as you can see here. So I kind of merged all them together, rasterized them, and that made it easier to kind of play with opacity and effect styles. So I added a bit of an outer glow to that, as you can see. It was a little bit overpowering at first, but it all comes together in the end. So I'm just playing with the settings here, the opacity. And then I did a little bit of blur. A little bit more blur. There you go, we're getting a little bit of a nice blur now. And again, I am going to add more kind of light effects and light leaks to this to make it look a little bit more realistic. But for this, I was just going for the hotspot of the neon sign. So I did then try and stretch it a little bit so the neon, the hotspots or the hot lines, whatever you want to call them, matched up a little bit better. So I was just using free transform there. And that's matching a little bit better now. And then what I want to do is I added a blank layer, and then I sampled the red of the model, and I just started painting that on a linear dodge blend mode over the writing, quite roughly. And then I use my fill to bring that down, restrict the glow a little bit and make it a little bit more realistic. And the glow usually has to be built up over various layers and blend modes. You don't just want to do it all in one blend mode, and you want to also use different types of blending as well. So that's looking a little bit better, but the hotspots were still a little bit too bright, so I did change them later on. So just playing with opacity now and different kind of blend modes. This is on screen now, where the first one was on linear dodge. Again, playing with that hotspot in the middle, it seemed a little bit too overpowering. And then what I quite like to do is I like to add a little bit of atmosphere, so it looks like we've got a neon sign behind the woman, but she was in a room maybe what had smoke in it. So then I want to add a little bit of kind of smoke glow as well around the sign, so the light is hitting the smoke and you can see that. And then I thought I'd paint a little bit of blue smoke or mist around the frame as well, because you've got the blue light coming from the front that's lighting models, the kind of centre of a face and a body, more of a fill light. This was too strong, so I did then pull the opacity down so to make it a little bit more subtle. You always want to pull it down by at least 25% when you do something, because you usually always do it over the top and too abrasive. So again, now just bringing in that centre glow to get that hot spot. As you can see, it looks a lot better than it did. So just taking the image in now, and usually I stop when I've done some effects like this, and I take a look at the image and then I think, is it too strong? Does it need to come down a little bit? Always go for realism more than just over the top. Now I'm just bringing in some lens flares here, some old lens flares what I've used. Just again adding to that realism when things blend over the model and kind of randomly kind of blend around the image. It adds a little bit more realism to that image. So again, I'm probably thinking to myself now, is that too much? So all these methods that you see in creating this image are all as well from my Hollywood processing, which is available in a link below this video. So let's jump back in, and I am now messing around still with the lens flare. Now, she did have blood on her face, but I think I needed it to stand out a little bit more. So I thought I would just take a texture and then I would blend it in a little bit to the face, add a blur, and you can just see the outline a little bit more. It just defines the blood on the face a little bit more. I mean, this is a vampire. Without the eyes and the teeth and the blood, it would just look like a model in some kind of bondage gear. And obviously the styling of the outfit, we're going for a little bit rock and roll, a little bit 80s and a little bit subversive. So what I'm doing now is the good old dodge and burn. So I'm just dodging the highlights, burning the shadows, creating a little bit of the depth in the model and the image, and pulling out certain details in the model. So what I like to do as well, where you've got these highlights here, you can really dodge them quite a lot and bring out the detail of the highlights in the clothing. If anyone's watched my videos before, you'll know dodge and burn quite well, because I pretty much do it on mostly every image. Although I have been doing it a little bit less lately, but I do still like dodge and burn a lot. So as you can see here, I'm just really enhancing those highlights now with dodge, bringing them out. Sometimes people say my work looks a bit like something from a game or game art, and I guess that's due to the dodge and burn. And then what I was going to do here, I was going to try and extend the canvas and add an S onto the girl, so it said Lost Girls, but I would have had to go, it was a lot of work, so I thought I'll leave it as Lost Girl. And then I got the notification for the dreaded, your file is too large to save as a PSD. So the image is now a PSB because it's over 4 GB. So again here, just adding a little bit more mist to the image. Playing around now. A little bit more dodge and burn on the face. Now playing with colour grading, I did add a tiny little bit of red into the shadows and a little bit of blue also into the colour grade, but I didn't go crazy on this. Too much red and it seemed to really wash out the image, but it's nice to have a little bit of colour in those shadows to get that painterly feel. Now changing the eye colour to yellow again, colour contrast so the eyes stand out a lot more, you can see the eyes a lot better and shows those yellow vampire eyes. As you can see here, again, trying to stick that S in, it's just not going to work, mate. God does love a try though. So what I wanted to do now as well is I did use a detail extractor just to pull a little bit of detail out, so kind of in the clothing and in the image in general, a tiny little bit. You just want to go very, if you want realism, you want to use that very subtly, just kind of paint it in selectively on your model. So I did it around the face and on the clothing, and now just playing with the teeth a little bit. Again, brightening up certain areas. So what I'm doing here is I am now looking for some light flares, and what I did actually use is the Ultimate Light Effects bundle from the stock. So this has hundreds of light flares and light leaks and things like that, and if you've seen my images before, I love to use light leaks and lens flares. So there'll be a link under the video as well if you want to try them out for yourself. So what I did was I wanted a bit of a lens flare on the I and the L of the type, just to add a little bit of interest, and also you can kind of get the feeling that it's a neon light and it's a little bit overheated and you're getting that lens flare. And it's basically just a nice style. Is that word? Stylization? It's a nice styling trick. The more you can blend, the more realistic your image will look, and composite is all about selling the fake. So I do tone it down as well because it was a little bit bright. But lens flares and overlays are always good for any kind of image. Usually you just bring them in, put them on the screen blend mode, all the black disappears and you're just left with the cool light effects, what you can then move around and place where you want. I've pretty much made a career out of using them. So if I can, you can too. And for me, I just tend to love these kind of backlit composites, or even just model shoots where you add some lighting behind them, stylized lighting. Again, another overlay there. Just adding a few kind of lens overlays to it. Now just a little bit more retouch to the model. As you can see here, I'm taking in the image again, what looks good, what doesn't look good. Something overtaking, like my eye getting drawn to the hotspots more than it is to the model. These are all things you have to take in as you're kind of sitting back and looking at your image. As you can probably tell, I thought the lens flares were a little bit too harsh, so I do lower them in opacity, and I then add some more kind of floating particles to the image as well. It just adds a little bit of definition to the mist too. Again, we're going for realism. Now just a little bit more retouch, just getting rid of some tiny little bits. I did try and add a vignette to the image, but it just felt a little bit, just didn't work, so I decided to leave that. And then I did some sharpening to the image, some local sharpening, selective sharpening, and that was that. That's it for this video, but if you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe, as everyone helps the channel grow. And if you did enjoy this video a lot, then the next 2 suggested videos will also be up your street, as they will also go through photo manipulation techniques and composite tricks.